and welcome to another edition of Access Central TV. My name's Andy Hersman. I'm the host of the show, and I want to thank you for tuning in, and hopefully this next half hour will be interesting and worth your time. I think it will be. I have two great guests here. First, I have Jonathan Buchanan, which is, he's a great guy, very opinionated, very interesting. And of course, we have Tony DeLuca, who also is, he's not boring, trust me. Actually, never trust anybody who says trust me, right? Oh boy. Anyway, we're off to a good start. Anyway, first thing I wanted to talk about, because we didn't get time to do this in the last show, but I found something interesting on the internet. Now, just to kind of fill it in. I mean, there's a lot of controversy now about police brutality, and people are a little weary about confrontations with the police. And there's these DUI checkpoints that pop up every once in a while. And the problem with those is, first I think they're unconstitutional because they're pulling you over without probable cause. That's one problem I have with it. And another problem I have is, I mean, I'm not totally against police, but they are allowed to lie in order to get a conviction. They're encouraged to lie at some points. And the problem with DUI checkpoints is, if you have like mouthwash or if you had just one drink, which is legal, I mean, then they smell it, and now you're in trouble. Now, all kinds of things could happen. Once they smell it on you, or you have slurred speech, now they got you doing all kinds of tests, and it's up, and who's to say, if you walked a straight line or not? They could say, nah, that wasn't straight enough, or whatever, right? I mean, so on the internet, what they did was they found a lawyer actually put this together, and it's sort of like a way to get through the checkpoint without having to talk, so they can't lie and say, oh, that speech was slurred, or to open up your window and say, oh, I smell alcohol, whether they do or not, So in order to get around that, if you want to just quickly hold this up, they give you this thing to put on your window. Hold it up to the camera so we can see it. Yeah, so so basically you hold it up to the window and it says, I remain silent. Keep it up for a second so I can read it. I remain silent. You do not consent to searches, and you want your lawyer. And then on the bottom there, it also says, please put the any kind of tickets on the windshield, and the fact that you don't have to show, actually hand over your papers. You can actually show them.
So let me ask you, so practically, the policeman would come over to the car, right, because we're assuming here that the person, had some sort of traffic violation, and you would what, hold this up in the window? And
It's not for violations. It's only for DUI checkpoints. Okay.
Oh, for DUI checkpoint strictly.
Yeah. So in other words, if you're approaching a checkpoint, right?
Yeah.
And you might have had one drink, or you might have, you realized, oh man, I just used so much mouthwash, it might get me in trouble. I really don't want to deal with this. And you're not really a drunk person. This isn't for drunk people. This is not a way to get out of a ticket.
What type of mouthwash? I mean, how much mouthwash?
There's people who've gone to jail because they go in a breathalyzer, and just because they use some Listerine, which has alcohol in it.
Oh, sure, no, I know that.
So they end up a night in jail, and they're not even guilty.
I think that's a rare case.
It's
not the
rare
norm.
Or not. It's a way to avoid that.
It's wrong, but
sure.
There's always issues with everything.
Of course.
And this is just one of those issues that happens to do with DUIs. It doesn't mean, obviously, when they go to court, their story will come out and charges will most likely be dropped because they use mouthwash. But you're going to end up in jail. And if it's a Friday night, you're going to spend the whole weekend in jail.
Look, can I say,
it's an unfortunate, but the police job is to protect the public.
Right.
And that is their main priority.
But they also swore to uphold the Constitution, and the Constitution says you don't, pull over 100 people to catch one person.
If you're conversing with a policeman or he pulled you over, obviously there's a good reason for that. That in itself is
No, but a checkpoint, there's no good reason.
Okay,
for
well, if this is a right, if this gives a person a right, why a DUI checkpoint? Why not in every instance where the cop pulls you over? Why
that.
specifically?
Because, like I said, if you're speeding, that's dangerous.
Right.
Right. But if you have mouthwash and you don't feel like being arrested for having mouthwash in your mouth,
Yeah.
and you're being pulled over for no probable cause.
For the record,
just for random.
Can I say one thing before I'll let you go? I'm sorry. For the record, I just want to say when you started out this segment, you start off by saying that police are allowed to lie, and I just want to say I don't think that that's true.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
just because I didn't say anything doesn't mean I agree with you. But
And I second that as well.
Well,
We should be supporting the police. We should be
I
getting
do.
behind
I
them
don't want drunk drivers on the road.
and helping them,
I don't want drunk
not
drivers on the road,
attacking the
but I want them to
techniques
do
and the
it
measures
constitutionally.
in which the way they need to do to get, those who are inflicting.
Sure.
Now,
there's a law. It's called perjury. In a courtroom, if a policeman is found to be lying, then it's actual.
They don't get convicted of that. And it's not. I'm not talking courtroom.
Well, it's your opinion.
For example, this is a good example. Let's say two people are accused of robbing a house. Okay. Now they separate them. They put them in two different interrogation rooms. Now the cops. What if they're completely not guilty? They didn't do anything. All right.
You take a lie detector test. You can demand one.
Well, yeah, but let's say.
I mean, you do have a lawyer. Your lawyer is there to represent you.
Hold on, you're going off on a tangent
Okay,
here. What I'm trying to say is, they'll ask one person, questions, and they'll say, "Oh, you might as well admit to it because your buddy in the next room admitted to it already," which is a complete lie. Okay, but now you're thinking, "Oh, that rat Fink, he's scared and he's blaming it on me, and now I'm going to get in trouble for it."
Silent.
Yeah, but
Go ahead.
again, people get. How many times do people get told they have the right to remain silent?
And they put their foot in their
and then
mouth.
they talk.
And that's
why it says right here, "I remain
But
silent."
whose fault is that?
That's not the police fault.
But another problem.
If you are arrested, the first thing you should, I want my lawyer, and that's the
That's
only
what it
person
says
I'm
right on
speaking
there.
to.
See, again,
Well, but
what's wrong with
if
that?
you choose to speak to the police without your
As
lawyer
soon as
represented, then that's your fault.
We're talking about people that
No.
that have a problem, conforming and obeying the law. Do you think that when the policemen are interrogating them, that suddenly they're going to start following the rules? The scenario you just
They
painted
lie.
there is a tactic to try and elicit information because they're generally not people that don't cooperate. So yeah, they'll tell them.
But why should you cooperate? There's no.
And if
You're
you
allowed
feel-
to remain silent.
And if the person being questioned feels like they're being entrapped, then you have a lawyer. You were entrapped.
I know, but as soon as you talk,
Okay.
right away you're opening yourself up to all kinds of things. Because the first word out of your mouth, they can say, "Oh, that sounded a little slurred to me," and now you're in trouble.
We have a surprise for you. I have the chief of police waiting outside.
Hey, come on in. I wish. No, but I think it's an interesting, because a lawyer put this together, and a lot of people don't exercise their rights and don't even know about their own rights. And the problem is, when you do know your rights, the police make fun of you. Oh, well, you're just playing lawyer, and they belittle you for using your own rights. And this is supposed to be a free country. You should be able to exercise your rights and not be afraid of the police.
I have to say, if anyone does this, there's
Yeah.
a good chance you probably will get more tickets than you probably deserve,
Well,
and may end up spending a night in jail.
Well, maybe. No, but it also says
I've been pulled
on the
over.
bottom-
I follow the procedure. I either get my ticket or sometimes they let me go.
Sure.
I never have any issues, and that's
Well-
the best advice I would give to anyone.
Yeah,
if
but
you
if-
feel like a police officer is being very loud or rude, the safest thing for you to do is just keep your hands on the steering wheel.
Right, but
be
what-
polite and don't give them any reason to make anything to cause any other
But see,
issues with you.
we're living in this totalitarian regime now where it's like comply or die. That's the. If you don't comply, they have a right to come out and shoot your ass, and they're not going to get in trouble for it.
That seems like an imaginary world.
No, it's happening. If you look on YouTube,
that is
over and
extreme.
over and over, they got so
Yeah.
many videos.
How many
on
times
there.
have you walked down the street this year? Just about every day. And how many times
Usually I-
have you been shot at or pulled over for no reason?
Listen, I'll give you a nice story. My brother was at the Nassau Coliseum.
How long
right?
ago?
This, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago.
10 years ago. Who was he with?
Nobody. He had a ticket to see a concert.
Was he drinking?
No, he wasn't drinking.
He was at a concert.
He was at a concert.
Okay,
He
so it
just
was a
got there.
rowdy crowd.
It's a rowdy
Okay.
crowd
No, there was
already.
no crowd because he was late.
Right. He
Okay,
wasn't
so-
going to church. He wasn't going to
No.
school. He wasn't going to work. He wasn't going shopping. He was
Right.
at a concert.
But let me
Go
give you
ahead.
the story, okay? Before you interrupt, he's in the parking lot. He's late. He gets out of his car. He starts running towards the Coliseum because he's late. He wants to see the concert. All of a sudden, 3 cops on the horses, the mounted cops, not even saying a word, tackle him, okay, knock him to the ground, handcuff him, beat the hell out of him, all right? Then they put him in, in a room and interrogate him for hours. He missed the whole entire concert. And, they only let him go because at the time he was working for News 12 and they found that out and go, oh. But, think about it. He didn't, and at the end they go, oh, well, we thought you were throwing rocks at us. I mean, they accuse, when they make up these things so they don't get in trouble.
I wasn't there, so I can't testify to what happened. Obviously, there's 2 stories. There's the police, there's your brothers, and then there's...
Why would he throw rocks at a cop?
And then there's...
You know what, Andy? That's unfortunate.
So it's an unfortunate situation.
It's a case of being at the wrong place at the wrong time, and it happens in life.
They never saw him throw a rock.
It's not the exclusive domain of your interaction with the police.
I know. They lie.
But things like that happen in life in general.
They lie. Instead of saying, listen, it's our fault, we apologize, no, you were throwing rocks at us.
There probably was someone throwing rocks at them.
No, they see somebody running, and then right away they go, oh, he must be doing something wrong.
Well, I'll tell you this. I was at the Coliseum several years ago.
Yeah.
And I was leaving an Islanders game.
Okay.
Okay. And saw a bunch of drunk kids ready to fight.
Okay.
Okay. And one of these drunk kids was picking on somebody because they happened to be a fan of the opposing team.
Okay.
And thank God the cops were there to intervene.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I'm not saying they're always...
So there is cases. I mean, you're talking about the Coliseum. There's a large crowd there, a lot of people.
Sure.
There can be some chaos. And
I'm not saying everything the cop ever does is wrong, okay? But, they do a lot of good. On the other hand, okay, I don't bother calling them anymore because I've never called 911 and gotten any kind of result that I was satisfied with. I mean, here's a great story. I just want to tell this story because this is outrageous. All right, this happened again. Actually, I know exactly it happened in 1999. It was a while ago, obviously. But I live in Farmingdale. There was a robber in the area that would go in, break into people's houses, and steal one item, and most people didn't even notice. It was missing. So one day, my brother asked me, "Hey, did you see my leather coat?" I go, "Oh, you left it on the couch. We never, it just disappeared." So one day, I wake up to the alarm clock. I got news radio, I hear on the radio, they go, "Oh, that guy in Farmingdale, they finally caught him, the guy that was, stealing one item." And, and I go, and I put 2 and 2 together, and I go, well, maybe he stole that leather jacket, So I call the precinct, okay? I call the cops, I go, "Hey, I give them my address." They go, "Hold on." They look up my address. They go, "Oh, yeah." They gave me a full description of the inside of my house. Okay, they knew the guy robbed my house, and they never informed me. If I didn't listen to the radio, I would have never known about it. And I'm like, what is that? What kind of, it's like, and you know what their excuse is? Well, he's going to go to jail anyway, so you don't have to press charges.
Andy, how many houses were they looking at?
It was the whole neighborhood.
So maybe
and I have a right to press charges too. He robbed my house, and they were aware of it.
Maybe they needed more time to get to you.
No.
Maybe they didn't have your phone number.
No, they don't have my phone number.
How do they know the inside of your house? What, did they go into his mind?
No, because they had a full confession
from him.
Which means, that's what I'm saying. It's like the guy confessed that he robbed my house, and they don't even inform me of it.
That story sounds like it has holes in it. We're talking about the cops now. We started out the segment with this little piece of literature, and
right.
you focused immediately on DWI. It sounds like you're almost in favor of drinking while driving.
No, I tried to say
the ability to
before
escape
I was
a checkpoint.
I was trying to say I don't want drunk drivers on the road, but what I do want is, the way should be done in the Constitution, which means you pull somebody over when there's probable cause. There's like if a cop sees somebody swerving,
but that's why
you
pull them over. But that's why he's pulling them over.
No.
If you're swerving.
No. I'm talking about checkpoints.
But Andy,
checkpoints are
drunk
not
driving, probable cause.
Beverage out of your car. These are all.
Sure, that's probable cause.
Let's talk about that for a minute. What constitutes probable cause?
Again, if you're driving, too slow, too fast, if you're swerving,
all right,
that's fine. But a checkpoint where you stop 100 people and none of them are guilty of anything. They didn't show any of those signs.
Is it illegal to have too much alcohol in your blood? It is, right? When they do.
If you're driving.
So what if you're driving straight, but you're still breaking law because you have too much alcohol?
Right.
The only way they'll know is if you roll down the window.
Right.
And they smell your breath, or you start to talk, and then they see that you slur.
Right. Well,
they'll never get to that point because this sign will say "shoot."
Right. But
shoot,
again,
go
I'm
away.
not advocating that for people who are drunk. I'm advocating that for people who had, maybe had one drink or had some.
Well, this isn't the
mouthwash.
solution.
I mean, these people are innocent. They're not guilty, and they can still end up in jail.
If your problem is you want it to be done in an expeditious manner, then maybe you should have the equivalent of an easy pass breathalyzer, where
it's not about,
they roll up and they just puff into it and okay, you're good, go.
No,
maybe that's not
the point. The point, I don't care about how long it takes. What I care about is innocent people going to jail, and innocent people getting pulled over without any probable cause.
15 minutes. I hate to say, and it is sad, but there have been a lot of innocent people over the years.
That's what I'm trying
who've
to
ended up
avoid.
in jail.
Right.
And through due process, and sometimes it can take a very long time.
Yeah.
Some of those people find their way out. No one wants to see anybody innocent go to jail.
I disagree.
I mean, we have to understand that nothing is perfect.
Right.
There's always going to be some bad apples. There's always going to be something in the shuffle that is
But why
wrong.
not find
But
ways to
you
make
can't
it better?
expect. Well, but most police do a good job. Most police. We're
they
talking
do.
about a small minority
No,
of things that happen. This
I
is
don't
not
agree.
50%. This
I
is
don't know. I'm not gonna put a
this
name
is
or a
probably
number
less
on
than
it.
5.
I don't know what the numbers are.
So we just can't
can't put numbers on it.
can't say, well, the checkpoints. This is happening all over the country, and so many innocent people are going to jail, and this is the way it's done all the time. I have to personally say, I drive a lot. I have never been in a checkpoint.
Well, good for you.
So I've
Good for
never
you.
experienced that experience. But
Well, you don't drive around New Year's Eve or whatever, or Friday nights.
But that's the whole thing. If it's New Year's Eve, people go out and drink.
Yeah.
They party. So naturally, the checkpoints are going to be
But
there
you-
to make sure that the roads are safe.
But on New Year's
I
Eve, you
understand
put out
that.
more patrols and you watch closer for more people who are swerving. It's the way to do it. You don't set
Like
up
Tony had
checkpoints.
said, what happens if you're not swerving and they still want to catch that person who is breaking that law? You may not swerve
well, again,
on the
you said it's not
expressway or the
perfect.
highway, but when you get home, you may swerve into someone's house.
Right, but again, you said nothing's perfect. But I'd rather have a guilty person go free than an innocent person.
That's why the checkpoints are there, to get the guilty people.
Yeah, but they're also getting people who are not
This is
guilty.
like Bitcoin. This is another tool that can be used by criminals or
It
bad
could, but
people.
it's, again, I'd rather have someone, like I said, who is guilty get off, because you're innocent until proven guilty in this country. You're not automatically guilty.
But you're not even giving them the chance to.
So then prove yourself innocent in
No,
court.
that's the opposite.
Why we have a court.
That's the
That's why
opposite.
you
You're not
have a
guilty until
lawyer.
proven. See, you're innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof is on them to prove that you're guilty. It's not the other way around. You're not guilty, and you have to try to prove yourself innocent. And that's what they're trying to do. They're changing the whole burden of
If you've
proof.
been arrested and they're saying you're guilty, you have an attorney and you have
Why
a
should you
court
have to
and
go
a
through that and
judge.
spend money on lawyers and spend your time?
Unfortunately, that's what you have to do.
Well,
Like I
this is a
said,
way to
they're-
avoid
they're-
that.
That's probably going to cause more problems.
I don't think so.
And get less positive results. My concern
Yeah,
is...
you know why? Because the
my
police
concern is-
don't care about the law.
My
They don't
concern is-
respect the law. They don't
and there's
respect the
a- and
Constitution that
let's
they
also get to
swore
another
to
factor.
uphold.
There's also something called responsibility.
Yeah,
If you're drunk, you shouldn't be driving.
absolutely.
If you want to drink,
Yeah.
then have someone drive you home who isn't drunk. Call a taxi. There's also self-responsibility.
I agree. If
Okay.
you're an adult, you shouldn't be doing it to begin with.
there's a lot
and that's
of-
why I don't
a lot of
advocate
times-
this being used for drunk drivers. I don't want drunk drivers
A lot
using
of
this.
times, with DUIs and DWIs, it's always the innocent people who are getting killed and not the drunk drivers.
That's true.
So my concern is for people is that if you want to avoid problems, then reduce the amount of liquor that is in your system. If you want to
Sure.
get drunk and you want to get to the point where you're that intoxicated,
Yeah.
and either do it home or do it at a friend's house where
Sure.
you can spend the night,
Sure.
or have the phone number of a taxi, or have someone come and pick you up.
But,
there are things that you can do that you can avoid.
I'll drink to that.
The things that you can do to avoid having
But see,
confrontation.
this country has gone so crazy with these laws. Because now you know what happens? If someone gets killed on a road, right, from drunk driving, guess who gets really in trouble? The bartender. That's how crazy this country has become.
But
It's
the
like
bartender also has to have some responsibility in the fact that if
Look,
you
they're
see somebody
conducting a business. It's none of their business who drinks and how much. It's like,
but
who
they
cares?
also have a civil responsibility because they know that person may go on the road. If you're serving somebody too many drinks and they're intoxicated, at some point you have to say, I'm cutting it off.
getting ridiculous.
I'm not going to serve you
hold on
any
a
more
second.
alcohol.
When a policeman pulls you over, he has no idea where you're coming from, where you've been.
Right.
He doesn't know what your breath sounds like if your window's up and you're holding a sign.
Right.
The bartender has been serving you drinks all night, and he
Right.
knows how strong they are. He knows if he's been giving you a Shirley Temple, which is
Right.
Coca-Cola and grenadine, or a Long Island
If he's
iced
serving
tea.
100 people, he's supposed to keep track of 100 people, what they're all drinking and how much. Are you kidding
He
me?
doesn't serve 100 people.
If there's a
It's
big
usually
party
a small
going on,
crowd,
it's
and
usually, but-
there's one drunk that's planted right in the same spot, and they're there all
Well,
night.
if he's too drunk, you know
How
what?
many bartenders do you know? They usually remember people that sat at their bar and drank.
It's not their job to do
people-
that, though. Their job is to serve alcohol and get paid for it.
Yeah.
That's the only responsibility they have to the establishment.
Bartenders generally have a good recollection of who they serve,
Maybe
how much
they
alcohol.
do, maybe they don't, but it's
and
not
they
their job.
and they know from experience that someone is over the limit.
Why
'cause
should a
they're-
bartender go to jail, all right, and be accused of some kind of murder or accomplice to a crime?
So whose responsibility is it then?
It's the person who was drinking, obviously.
Well, maybe they're drinking because they're upset about something. You know.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, what happens if
Take
the
responsibility
person's
for
an
your own
alcoholic?
action. Yeah, well, too
I mean,
bad.
that's where the bartender has to step in and say, I've served you 4 drinks. You seem very unstable.
How about they
I'm
put
not
on your
serving
license that
anymore."
you're an alcoholic so he knows when he's checking IDs? I mean, again.
I agree, and I would say that most of the blame should go with the individual.
Yeah, but that's not
Okay,
what's taking
but if
place now.
if I am an owner of a bar, I also have to have the consideration too that I am serving a beverage that intoxicates people, and if they're in a vehicle, it can cause a risk to others.
What is the bartender supposed to do?
So you have to be cautious.
Like every
on
time
who
he
you
serves a
serve as
drink,
well.
hey, are you going to take a taxi home tonight, or are you with a friend, or who's driving you home? Is that their job to figure out how the people are going to get home?
Yeah.
It's
Well, not
come
how to get home,
on,
but it's
come
their job to
on.
cut them off, to start watering down their drink. It's their responsibility
Why?
because
Well,
they,
why
because
can't
they have
people take
they
their
have
own
better judgment than the
responsibility?
person who's already drunk
Well,
and doesn't know when to stop.
You know what? If you're going to go out to
It's
a
just
bar,
like the
before you even walk in the bar, you should have a way of getting home if you know you're going to get.
That's an
be
idealized
drinking.
world. It's not practical.
Well, it's not
That's
the-
not-
it's not the bartender's job.
It's just like it's the responsibility of the credit card company
Uh-huh.
to let you know if there was a fraudulent, if your credit card was stolen. They should cancel your credit card. That happened to me. My gas card got canceled. They didn't even call me. It
I
just
don't
got
know if that's a
canceled.
good analogy.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is that there has to be some proactive responsibility on the company's side too. So if my credit card got stolen, they canceled it before any damage could happen. If the bartender sees someone drunk, they need to cut the drinks off before any damage.
You know, I disagree. I really think if individuals took responsibility for their own actions, we wouldn't have all these problems.
I agree, but in this day and age, there's a lot of irresponsible
Alcohol
people.
is coming from an external source. In this case, the bartender. It doesn't matter if it's
It's
a
a
doctor.
legal product, though.
It doesn't matter if it's a doctor giving you some sort of medication through a needle.
Yeah.
It's altering that person. The doctor is using their judgment. They have to figure out whether this person is going to react to it or maybe even hallucinate. Obviously, they're not going to give them a hallucinogen.
That's a bad analogy, too, because doctors are trained in medicine and they know the side effects and so on.
So you think bartenders don't know the
But they're not
side
trained
effects
for
of
that.
alcohol?
They're not trained for that. They're not specifically trained
It's
for that.
something called experience. It's better than training.
Oh, again, you're trying to put a responsibility on somebody that they don't.
I'm not saying
What I
I'm not
don't-
agreeing with the legal consequence. I'm saying that maybe they
I mean,
should go to
morally,
jail, but
morally maybe, okay, if you want to talk morals. But I'm talking legal here. This is ridiculous to actually throw a bartender who's just trying to earn an honest living, okay, and for some reason he didn't keep track of all his people that were drinking.
It's a slippery slope because if you can prove that the bartender had malice and he said I'm going to get this guy drunk and I'm going to ruin his life, then
Yeah.
maybe they should go to jail.
Right.
They can't be immune, that's for sure.
Right.
But maybe there are instances where the person got drunk and the bartender wasn't quite sure and they don't deserve to go to jail. I would agree. That's a hard thing.
But again,
to call.
it's like, even to put the guy at risk of going to jail is not fair to him. It's
Do
not,
you
it's
feel
not right.
that the companies that actually produce and make the alcohol should be held
Nah.
responsible?
No, it's a legal product, okay? They have commercials. At the end of every commercial, it says, please drink responsibly. They're reminding people, hey, you're an adult. You're not some kind of kid. you know, take responsibility
But
for
we
your
all
own
know
actions.
that not everyone drinks responsibly.
Well, then they should go to jail. Not the bartender, not the people who make
But
it.
if the bartender is selling the drink to the person who's irresponsible, he or she, I'm not saying all the blame should fall on them, but at least
He shouldn't have
be
any blame.
cautious.
For what?
Cautious, okay? That's a big factor. This
Like
person
if I,
is
okay, let's say if it
intoxicated.
wasn't alcohol. Let's say if it was, I don't know, milkshakes. All right, and the guy
Milkshake-
like drinks so many of them and he gets so sick and he like, you know.
But
he
only, but he only.
What if he's a diabetic and he
Okay,
goes
so
into
you
diabetic
just-
shock because
so
he had
that-
too many?
That wasn't a great
You- you-
example
you-
because
why not?
Because that milkshake and him being sick is going to affect him.
Yeah.
The drunk person in a car
He could kill
could
somebody.
affect all of us.
Oh, you know, I
Look,
gave you 3 milkshakes to a diabetic and he ended
you
up
give
going into
milkshake
shock
to
and
100 people, you
Yeah.
don't know how every one of those
Right,
people is
you
going to
give
react. But you give alcohol to
No,
100
you give
people,
no,
they're
no,
all
you
going to
don't.
get drunk.
If you give beer to
There
100
aren't people that are immune to alcohol.
Yes, there are.
There are? I'm not aware of that. Is that
yeah,
medically
because
possible?
the more you get, you build up a tolerance to alcohol.
You're
Some
not a
people-
bartender on the side, are you?
I went to bartending school, and that's how I learned about
Is that what this is all about?
Well, no, but
Okay.
no, because when I heard that that's why I didn't become a bartender, because it's like, why would I want to put myself in that kind of a situation where I can go to jail for doing my job? That's insane. That's ridiculous.
I've done a little bartending. It's not a real problem.
It is a problem.
You
because
see people, and once they're over the edge, you just cut them off and you tell them, and sometimes you have problems.
you make it sound so easy. It's really, you know, it's very easy to fall through the cracks and have, you know, again, have somebody end up
Bartender has to
dead.
be somewhat responsible
Why?
because that person that person will get into a vehicle,
Uh-huh.
and if they're going 120 miles an hour, that's going to cause a lot.
The bartender
of
told him
damage.
to do that?
That's going to cause a lot of damage. But no, the bartender
How's it
provided in the establishment.
No, the owner of the bar did.
The owner of the bar, but the bartender was there, and he served him the drinks.
So?
Now, I'm not saying
his
the
job.
bartender should go to jail.
But that's what
okay?
happens.
But if you see someone intoxicated, they have to be responsible. And not only that, if the person's giving you a problem, then call the police and say he's intoxicated, and that we need, you know, we need some help here. This person needs to either go to the hospital or we need you to confiscate their keys so they can't drive.
You know, I just think it's, you know, it's really putting a person who's trying to make an honest living in a bad situation where, you know, they are risking going to jail.
Well, we also have freedom.
doing their
We
job.
also have freedom of choice. Like you chose not to become a bartender.
Right.
If they feel like this profession.
But if that's the only thing
if
you know how to
they feel
do-
like this profession is going to risk their livelihood, then don't do it. Find something else.
I don't buy that either. I think people should take responsibility for their own actions. Put the person who was responsible for getting drunk and going behind the wheel, put them in jail. So at that point, we're running out of time. We could talk about this forever. Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for watching. What do you think? 440-6012, area code 631. If you have any thoughts on this, and we'll see you next time.